Welcome to Inclusive Voices Media. This is Glendale City Council Candidate Series. Local elections matter because the decisions made at the City Council level directly impact everyday quality of life, from public safety and housing to business development to traffic to parks and, of course, community services. That's why it is so important to stay informed, to get involved, and most importantly, cast your vote. In the interest of keeping our audience informed, we wanted to bring you this very special candidate interview series featuring the people who want to serve on the City Council, on the Glendale City Council. And in the interest of fairness, of course, and equal treatment for all of the candidates, we followed the same protocol for every single interview. All candidates were invited and given the opportunity to select a time slot on the same interview day. Each interview was limited to 10 minutes. All interviews were conducted live to tape. That means we recorded the interviews continuously without stopping, without editing, without retakes, without do-overs. Additionally, every candidate was asked the exact same questions with some follow-ups, and no candidate received questions in advance. Our goal here at Inclusive Voices Media is to provide voters with a fair, transparent, and consistent platform so you can hear directly from the candidates and make an informed decision at the ballot box. Interviews are published one at a time and in alphabetical order. Thank you for watching. Please remember to vote. I'm Silva Harapetian. Welcome to our candidate series. Joining me today is Dan Brotman. He's running for office here in Glendale for City Council. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We're going to get right into it because we only have 10 minutes. And I want to make sure you have all the time you need. The first question is about housing.
Okay.
So Glendale is under increasing pressure from the state of California to build more housing while residents are concerned about traffic, about neighborhood character, and infrastructure impact. How would you balance the needs of additional housing while preserving the quality of life here in Glendale?
Okay, well, the important thing is to recognize that we need more housing. It's not just the state pressuring us. We do need more housing because we want people that work here to be able to live here. We want people that grow up here and leave the home to be able to stay near their friends and their family, right? So we want that. That's good. Now, what the state has been doing is forcing us to do it in a one-size-fits-all way. That's what's frustrating, taking away our local control. So we do need to work with our legislators to try to get to a more carrot and less of a stick approach and recognize that Glendale has really been pretty good at building housing. We've been good citizens. So that's what we're working on with the legislature. Now, unfortunately, we've not been very successful. We've been lobbying hard. But we're going to have a new governor. We're going to have some new people in Sacramento. So the strategy is to take that approach. Some people say we should sue the state. We should stand up, pound our chest. It's a fool's errand because we'll just lose lots of money. We'll lose those relationships. So I don't believe in that. Now, we want that right housing in the right place. So we want, the dense housing downtown makes sense. Kind of mid-scale housing, small, townhouses, courtyard apartments, the stuff that Glendale is kind of known for. You see it all around. We want to replace that stock along the commercial corridors. In the single-family neighborhoods, it's basically going to be ADUs. ADUs are proliferating, and they fit in pretty well. They cause some parking issues, but I think it works, right? So really what I'm looking at doing is how do we build more of that small to mid-scale housing? Because right now developers aren't building that. And there are reasons in our codes and in other things, land costs. Some things we can control, some things we can't. But we want to be able to get that housing built. And we also want to find ways to get more ownership housing, more for sale housing, because the average cost of a house in Glendale, $1.4 million. How do young people get into home ownership and start to build equity? So those are things that are really important. Now, the infrastructure, we have to develop the infrastructure. We have a lot of aging infrastructure, and this may be a future question, but there's a lot of work we need to do with our streets, with our sewers, with our water, with our energy system. And it's not just about the fact that we have more people here. We don't necessarily have more people. We have people are spreading out more. People are living more in smaller units, so they need more space per person than historically has been the case. So it's not necessarily more people, it's more units. And, but nonetheless, we have climate change coming. We have to deal with our water supply. We have to deal with extreme heat. We have to deal with aging roads that are going to be more impacted because of the extreme heat. So we have a lot of infrastructure investment that we have to do.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Next question is about our budget, which has been a big issue in the city of Glendale. Glendale is facing significant budget pressures and must make difficult decisions involving reserves and hiring freezes and deferred capital projects. What are your top spending priorities, and what would you reduce, how would you reduce, and where would you reduce costs if revenue declines further in the city of Glendale?
Well, I don't believe in hiring freezes. I don't believe in cuts to staff. I don't want to see core services cut. We've actually made big investments in public safety and police and fire over the last few years. We're getting criticized that our budget has gone up, but like 80% of the increase in our budget is adding police and fire, right? Because we've had fires recently in our neighboring cities, right? We know fire risk is not going to go away, so we're doing more there. We filled vacancies in our fire department. Same thing on police. We had a lot of vacancies. We filled them, and we actually added 20 new officers so we could do more traffic enforcement, so we could deal with crime. And crime is down, which is a good thing. Crime is significantly down. So we've made these big investments. I'm not going to pull back on these investments. We're getting criticized for the budget increase. But the people that are criticizing that are not saying the obvious, which is that if you want to reverse that, that means cutting police and fire. I'm not for that. I'm also not for deferring maintenance, capital investment, because that's just a fake savings. You can take away money that you're going to use to repair roads now. You're going to spend more money later as the roads deteriorate. I don't want a city that's deteriorating. I don't want to race to the bottom. I want to continue this Glendale being a premier city. So that means, yes, we can use technology, AI. We can look at things that are maybe not highest priority. For example, the police department is saving a lot of money because they're cutting back on their helicopter program. They're not going to be putting money into new helicopters. They're continuing the program right now, but they're not going to invest in that next helicopter. The reason is drone technology is allowing us to do the same air support at a much lower cost. So there are things like that where we can save money without impacting quality of life. However, that is not going to close our budget gap. I don't care what anybody says, we need new sources of revenue. And so we are hard at work looking at all kinds of things, whether it's billboards on freeways. I know nobody wants to see another Sweet James, but that's revenue. It's not going to hurt anybody. So we need to do things like that. We have these delivery bots running around the city, right? We're going to start charging for those, and maybe there's an advertising potential on those. So we're looking at things, digital kiosks, that's one example. We have parking lots that are underutilized or in some cases vacant. We should be looking at how we can extract some revenue from those parking lots, developing them in some way, whether that's housing or that's commercial, but leaving them vacant is dumb. There are many other things that we're looking at, many other ways we can generate revenue. We're looking at like EV charging curbside, where we can partner with a third-party company to put those in, and we could generate some revenue from that. So there are a whole host of things we can do short of taking a ballot initiative to the residents asking for a new tax. That's the last thing we want to do. But we can't close that off because we have to make the numbers work, and I don't want to make the numbers work by downgrading the city.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Next question is about mobility. This has been a big issue, obviously, in the last few years. There's been a lot of discussion around Glendale is facing congestion, pedestrian safety concerns, and pressures to modernize transportation infrastructure. You touched up on that a little bit. There is that bus rapid transit line that is coming to Glendale. What is your approach to improving mobility for drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians, considering also the needs of the local businesses in the area. And I want to add, how would you balance those priorities? Who gets more priority than other? Is it the bicyclists? Is it the pedestrians? Is it the drivers? How do we resolve that conflict?
Okay, well, I think there are two things. One is we have a serious pedestrian safety problem, right? We are one of the worst cities when it comes to pedestrian injuries and deaths. And we have data to back that up. In fact, out of 66 cities in our size cohort in California, when it comes to pedestrian injuries and deaths among seniors, we are the lowest. We are lowest meaning we're the worst, not the lowest. We are the worst. When it comes to overall pedestrian injuries and deaths, we are 5th from the bottom out of 66. That's unacceptable. So we have to find ways to slow down drivers, stop the excessive speeding and the reckless driving, and that's going to take both enforcement and it's going to take design changes to our roads. So that is critically important, and that's why I'm very excited that we have one candidate who you'll probably be interviewing later, Alec Bartrasov, who is a transportation planner. He'll bring incredible expertise to the city to help us deal with these issues. Now, congestion is somewhat different, but yes, as people get more and more cars, the city is congested, and we need to find ways that people can get around safely and conveniently outside of a car. A lot of younger people don't run out and get their driver's license when they turn 16 the way my generation did. They want to get around, they want to walk, they want to bike, they want to take transit. So we need to invest in these things. Now, as you deal with speeding and reckless driving, right, you're going to be making these interventions in the roads that could cause a driver to, it could require that it takes, a few seconds longer to get to your destination or a few minutes longer. This is the trade-off. We have to decide whether we really care about safety. If we really care about safety, we're going to have to do these things. And it's going to come at some expense, not anything significant, but it may take a minute longer to get where you're going. I think that's a worthwhile trade-off.
Thank you so much. Believe it or not, our 10 minutes is up.
Okay.
Yeah, that went by fast, did it? Did it not? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for stopping in today.
So I didn't get the fourth question.
You did not get the fourth question, but you got the 3 most important ones.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to hear about the issues. Of course, if you need to learn more, tell them where you can.
You can go to my website, dan@danforglendale.com, or you can always call me, and I put my personal cell phone on my cards and I hand them out. So 949-228-2001. Text first, so I know that you're trying to reach me and you're not a spam call. But I love talking to people one-on-one.
Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
We'll see you next time.